Sometimes silence isn't peace, it's pride in disguise. They think about you more than they want to admit, every single day. But pride is louder than their feelings. It tells them to act like they don't care. It tells them to keep scrolling, keep watching, but never, ever reach out. That's the twisted little game pride plays. It feeds them lies like, if they cared, they would have reached out. But deep down, you and I both know you're on their mind. Hey folks, imagine this. Imagine a bird trapped in a cage, but the door's wide open. It could fly out any time, but it doesn't. Not because it can't, but because it's afraid of looking foolish if it tries and falls. That's them. They think about you every day. They replay the laughs, the little moments, the what-ifs. But they won't send that message. They won't call. Not because they don't care, but because pride built a wall around their heart, and now they can't even reach for the handle. They've typed out messages. Simple ones. Hey, how have you been? Or, I heard that song today and it made me think of you. But just before hitting send, pride shows up like a security guard and yells, "Don't be weak!" So they delete it. Again and again and again. But the thoughts, they don't delete so easily. And here's the funny part. Yeah, I said funny, because sometimes the way pride makes people act is straight up comedy. They'll stalk your profile like it's Netflix, watching your every story, reading into every caption, looking for clues like it's some detective mission. But will they message you? Nah, that would require them to admit they're still invested. And pride doesn't do admissions. As the old saying goes, the truth will set you free, but first, it will piss you off. So let me say the truth loud and clear, my friends. Just because they're silent doesn't mean you don't matter. Their silence is loud, louder than any text, louder than any call. It's filled with thoughts, regrets, doubts, and late-night overthinking. They're thinking about you right now. But their ego has them locked in a mental prison where reaching out feels like surrender. And if you're wondering, should I break the silence? Should I text first? Let me stop you right there. That's not your move. Not when their pride is what's keeping the connection buried. Not when they had every chance to step forward, but chose to lean back and wait for you. You don't chase someone who's letting their ego steer the wheel. You don't fix what you didn't break. Instead, you rise, you grow, you evolve. Because while they sit in silence, you build in silence. And that's what truly haunts them. Not your absence, but the man or woman you're becoming because of it. So if you're someone who's done explaining yourself to people, too proud to be real, type this in the comments right now. I don't chase, I rise. And hey, if this message hits you right in the gut, like I think it does, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because we're just getting started. 1. They think about you more than you realize. The mind replays what the heart can't let go. They don't talk to you. They don't text. They don't call. But don't let that fool you, not for a second, because behind that silence, behind that calm mask they wear when they're out with friends or laughing on social media, there's a storm they can't control. A quiet obsession, a daily reminder of what they lost, or worse, what they let slip away without a fight. Think of it like this. Imagine a candle burning in a dark room. It's small, subtle, not loud or dramatic, but it's constant, always flickering. That's you in their mind. A steady thought they can't blow out, no matter how hard they try to forget you. You show up in the songs they hear, in the places they visit, in conversations they didn't expect to have. You're in the silence between their sentences and the sighs they don't explain. You're in the space between the "I'm fine" and the "I don't want to talk about it." And yet, they stay quiet. Why? Because the mind might whisper, "Reach out," but pride screams, "Don't you dare." They wonder, what if I text them and they don't reply? What if they've moved on? What if I look weak? They convince themselves you've forgotten, that maybe they didn't mean as much as they hoped they did, but that's not the truth. That's the fear talking, and fear wears many disguises. Sometimes it looks like pride, sometimes it looks like indifference, but most of the time, it just looks like silence. Let's get real, folks. They didn't forget you. They just don't know how to admit they still think about you every single day. Because admitting that would require vulnerability. It would mean facing the truth that they miss you, that they care, and that maybe, just maybe, they made a mistake. And that's terrifying. For someone who's always been taught to look strong, stay in control, and never be the first to break. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, wondering if the leap will be worth it, terrified of what's on the other side. Will you catch them? Will you respond with warmth? Or will you greet them with cold silence, the same silence they gave you? But let me break a hard truth here. If they truly cared, they'd find a way, even if their voice shakes, even if it hurts their pride. Because fear has never stopped the brave. Only the ones who still live under the illusion that silence protects them. You know what really keeps them stuck? It's the lie that says, if I ignore it, the feelings will go away. But emotions don't dissolve. They compress. They bury themselves deeper, only to resurface in dreams, in flashbacks, in sudden waves of sadness that hit without warning. They think of the times you made them laugh when they didn't want to smile. The comfort of your voice when the world felt loud and cruel. The quiet intimacy of just being near you. They think about all of it. But they tell themselves it's better not to reach out. That time will fix it. That distraction is healing. But time doesn't heal what's buried alive. It just delays the breakdown. And every day they wait, they feel the distance growing. They watch your silence like it's a mirror, reflecting their own fear back at them. It's heavy, it's haunting, and it's all-consuming. But let me talk to you now, the one listening, the one rising. You might feel tempted to reach out too, to fix it, to close the gap. But that's not your job. Your role is not to chase someone who's allowing their fear to silence them. Your role is to become someone whose value is felt, even in absence. Because here's the truth. They think about you more than you think, but their pride is the prison they built for themselves. And it's not your job to break them out of it. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your strength is found in your stillness, in your patience, in your ability to hold the line when everything inside of you wants to cave. Because when you don't chase, you don't lose yourself. You rise, and trust me, they feel that. So today, don't let silence shake you. Don't let their pride become your pain. Their silence isn't your cue to act. It's your confirmation to keep moving forward. And if you're someone who knows you're done begging to be remembered, then type this right now in the comments. I am unforgettable. Say it out loud. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. You don't need to remind anyone of your worth. Your presence lingers, even in your absence. And what's coming next? Oh, we're just getting warmed up. Because next we're diving into why pride isn't power, it's the prison they chose. Stay with me. 2. Pride is the prison they chose. Pride is the armor people wear when they're too afraid to bleed in front of someone who matters. Let's not sugarcoat it, my friends. They want to reach out. They think about it often. It crosses their mind when they're brushing their teeth, stuck in traffic, or lying in bed at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling like it holds all the answers. They rehearse conversations in their head, imagining what they'd say, how you'd respond, how it could all feel again. Real, safe, right. But then something stops them. Pride. Not logic, not clarity, not peace. Just that stubborn little voice in the back of their mind that says, "Don't do it. Don't look desperate. Don't give them the satisfaction." It's wild, isn't it? How people will choose emotional jail over the freedom of truth. They'll lock themselves in a prison made of what-ifs and almosts just to protect their ego from a crack. A little dent, as if reaching out is the same as losing a war. Let's paint a picture. Imagine someone holding a glass of water. It's shaking, spilling, burning their hand, but they won't put it down. Why? Because they're afraid that if they do, someone will say, "Told you so." That's pride. Holding on to discomfort just to avoid looking vulnerable. They think, if I reach out, they'll think I'm weak. If I admit I miss them, I lose control. What if they've moved on? What if they don't care anymore? So instead of choosing honesty, they choose defense. And the sad part, they don't even realize they're hurting themselves more by holding back than by speaking up. But pride? It's a tricky beast. It doesn't shout. It whispers. Soft, convincing lies like, if they cared, they'd reach out first. Silence is strength. Let them wonder. But here's the truth they don't want to face. They're not wondering. They're losing. Not you. Not the one evolving, not the one healing, not the one building something real out of the ruins. Let me say it clearly. Pride has never healed a heart, never saved a connection, never built a bridge between two people who still care. All pride does is delay the inevitable. It keeps people stuck in loops of overthinking and regret while pretending they're fine. And folks, we've all seen it. That person who waits too long, says nothing for too many days, and wakes up one morning only to realize the door is now closed. That chance? Gone. That person? Moved on. That story? Finished. Not because there was no love, but because pride silenced it. But you don't sit around waiting for someone to escape their own prison. That's not your fight. You're not here to pick the lock for them. You're not the warden, and you're certainly not the savior. You're the one walking your own path, free, clear, growing. Because if someone truly values you, they'll find a way out of their own pride. They'll crack that shell. They'll step forward, not because you begged, but because they remembered who you are. And they'll realize, I'm about to lose something that actually mattered. But if they don't, let them sit in their silence. Let them feel the weight of the very walls they built. Because the longer they hold on to pride, the heavier it gets. And eventually, it doesn't protect them. It drowns them. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Pride is that craving, the need to win, to save face, and yet in the end, they're the ones left poor, not in money, but in peace, in truth, in real connection. So keep your head up, stay in your lane. You're not heartless. You're just wise enough to know that breaking your own peace just to comfort someone else's pride, that's not love. That's self-abandonment. And we don't do that here. If you're someone who refuses to be guilted by silence, who knows their value and won't chase pride, type it in the comments right now. My peace is priceless. Let them see it. Let the world see it. And let yourself feel it. You've come too far to backtrack for someone still living inside their ego. Because next, we're going deeper into what they do behind the scenes. They won't talk to you, but trust me, they're watching. They're just not ready to admit what that silence is really doing to them. Stay with me. 3. They check your profile but never leave a trace. Some people don't talk to you, not because they've moved on, but because they can't admit they haven't. They won't text, they won't call, and yet they're still around, just in the shadows, silently watching, secretly checking, quietly hoping for some sign that maybe, just maybe, you haven't moved on. But they'll never leave a like, never drop a comment, never react to your story. Why? Because they want the comfort of your presence without giving you the satisfaction of knowing they still care. Welcome to modern pride, folks. The kind that refreshes your page at midnight but refuses to send a simple, "Hey." They're like ghosts, always near, never seen. Their name doesn't pop up in your notifications, but trust me, they're there. Tapping through your stories like it's a ritual. Zooming in on that post, reading between the lines of every caption, wondering if that quote was about them. Wondering if the smile in your photo is real, or just part of the mask you wear like they do. But they'll never let you know, because in their mind, admitting they're watching means admitting they care. And pride? Pride doesn't allow that. Let me paint the picture. It's late. Everyone's asleep. They're lying there, phone in hand, scrolling through old messages with your name still sitting in their contacts like a wound that never healed. And in that quiet moment, they tap your profile. Again and again. Not because they're over you, but because they can't figure out how to let go of what still haunts them. They look for clues, for signs, for cracks in your confidence, a cryptic post, a subtle lyric, a blurry story from a night out that might hint you've met someone new. Because if they can find a sign, any sign, it means you're still stuck like they are, still unsure, still missing them, still within reach. But here's the twist. They want those signs without ever having to give you one back. That's the game. They want you to make the first move, to break the silence, to chase. So they can sit back, arms folded, pretending they were in control all along. But you and I both know that's not real power. That's fear dressed up in control's clothing. And folks, fear is louder than we think. It just doesn't scream. It lurks. It stalks. It taps through your stories at 2:17 a.m. and then pretends it didn't happen the next morning. Let's be real. If you're reading this, you felt it. That moment when you check who viewed your story, and there they are. That name you swore you were over. That ghost who walked away but keeps haunting your page like they still own a piece of your peace. But don't be fooled. Don't mistake attention for action. Don't confuse curiosity with commitment. Because watching from afar isn't love. It's hesitation. It's unresolved emotion wrapped in ego. And a stoic soul like you don't chase hesitation. You don't post for their reaction. You don't drop breadcrumbs just to get noticed. Because the second you start tailoring your life to be seen by someone too proud to speak, you lose the very power your silence gave you. So no, don't post a cryptic quote hoping they'll decode it. Don't throw out a half-smile selfie just to see if they'll come crawling. That's not who you are. You're not a billboard for someone else's insecurity. You are purpose. You are presence. You are peace. And your life, your real, evolving, grounded life, is not a stage for their silent curiosity. If they want to know you, let them come with words, with action, with effort, not with lurking, not with likes they're too afraid to give, not with views they hope you won't notice. Because a real connection is built in conversation, not surveillance. And if all they can give you is silent watching, then all they deserve is distant access. Nothing more. So if you're someone who refuses to shrink your shine just to get noticed, Write it in the comments right now. I don't perform, I live. Let them see it. Let you feel it. And let the world watch as you rise. Not to be seen, but because rising is what you were born to do. And stay with me, because next we're about to get into the subtle signals, the breadcrumbs they drop when they want you to come back without saying a word. But you're not here for crumbs. You're here for clarity. Let's talk about it. 4. Breadcrumbs disguised as coincidences. If someone really wants to talk to you, they will. Everything else is just noise, ego, and games. Let's get one thing straight, my friends. They don't want to look like they care, but they desperately want you to notice. And because pride won't let them be honest, they resort to breadcrumbs, quiet little signals, subtle nudges. They'll never say, "I miss you," but they'll post something that screams it. That quote about timing, healing, or letting go of what no longer serves you. Yeah, that one wasn't random. That song lyric they shared that just happens to be from your favorite artist. Not a coincidence. That blurry photo from the place you two used to visit, posted with a vague caption like, "Some memories don't fade." Come on. They're not reaching out, but they're reaching for your attention, reaching for your reaction, reaching for some form of emotional confirmation without ever saying it out loud. Why? Because pride makes people cowards when it comes to vulnerability. They want to know you still care, that you're still affected, that you haven't forgotten. But they want it without ever having to risk their own ego to find out. So they drop these emotional breadcrumbs, hoping you'll pick them up, hoping you'll message them, hoping you'll break first. And here's the wild part. When you don't respond, when you stay calm, silent, unbothered, that's when the breadcrumbs get more obvious. Maybe they start showing up in places you used to go. Maybe a mutual friend tells you they asked about you casually. Maybe they post a throwback photo with a caption like, "Good times." Oh, they're testing the waters. They want to see if they still have a hold on you without ever having to admit they care. It's manipulation in disguise, emotion wrapped in mystery. It's their way of knocking on your emotional door without actually stepping inside, because stepping in would require courage. And pride doesn't make space for courage, only control. So let's break this lie once and for all. If someone truly wants to talk to you, they will. Period. If they want clarity, they'll seek it. If they value you, they'll show it. Not with hints, not with riddles, with direct human effort. And I know what you might be thinking, but maybe they're scared, maybe they're hurting, maybe this is their way of reaching out. Sure, maybe. But pain is never an excuse for games. Fear is never an excuse for confusion. You don't heal people by playing along with their silence. You see, a lot of people want connection without responsibility. They want to be felt without showing up. They want to haunt your thoughts without having to knock on your door. But you're done decoding hidden meanings. You're not a detective in someone else's emotional mystery. Because the moment you chase those breadcrumbs, you lose your ground. You lower your standard. You abandon your peace just to make someone feel safe in their avoidance. And that's not who you are anymore. You are not here to follow clues. You are not here to chase shadows. You are here to build, to rise, to evolve. So the next time they post that song, that quote, that almost too familiar reference, they're not being deep. They're being scared. They're too scared to speak, so they whisper through social media, hoping you'll lean in and read between the lines. But you're smarter now. You're stronger now. And strength means not reacting to every subtle bait they throw your way. Because if they can't speak up, if they can't reach out with clarity and courage, then they don't get your presence. So if you're done being baited by breadcrumbs and ready for something real, Type it in the comments right now. No more crumbs. Let them wonder why you're so calm. Let them question how they lost your attention. Let them sit with the silence they created. Because next we're getting into the real power play. They don't want to reach out, but they want you to. They want you to crack under pressure. But guess what? You won't. Stay with me. 5. They hope you'll break first. The one who speaks first in a power game often speaks from fear, not strength. They're silent, but it's not peaceful, it's calculated. Behind that silence is a little voice whispering, "Wait, they'll come to you," because that's the game they're playing now. A quiet standoff where no one moves, no one speaks, and whoever breaks first is seen as the one who cares more. It's not that they don't want to talk, it's not that they don't miss you. They do, desperately, but pride's got its claws deep, and now they've turned it into a contest, not of love, not of healing, but of who can pretend better. So here they are, folks, sitting with their phone in their hand, refreshing your page, thinking of everything they'd like to say, but choosing instead to sit in silence and hope you'll break first. That you'll be the one to reach out, to say, "I miss you," to open the door, so they don't have to. And why? Because it makes them feel in control. Because deep down, they're afraid that if they reach out, they'll be met with rejection, indifference, or worse, silence. So instead of risking that, they sit back, legs crossed, arms folded, pretending they're fine, while inside they're battling a storm they won't admit. It's the emotional version of chicken. Who blinks first? Who breaks the silence? Who folds? And they hope it's you. They need it to be you. Because if you reach out, they get to exhale. They get to believe, "I mattered." They still care. I still have them. All without having to risk their own heart in the process. But that's not connection. That's ego survival. That's manipulation dressed up as restraint. Let's be honest, there's nothing brave about waiting for someone else to fix the distance you helped create. There's nothing noble about silence when it's used as a trap. And yet, they sit there day after day, wondering, why haven't they messaged me yet? Do they really not care? Are they over me? Every hour that passes without your name lighting up their phone, that's another crack in their illusion. That's another jab at their pride. And trust me, it's hurting them far more than they'll ever admit. But here's where many people fall. They start to feel guilty, anxious, pulled in. They think, maybe I should just send a quick message to clear the air. Maybe they're just scared. Maybe if I reach out, things will get better. Don't fall for that, my friend, because when you break first, not only do you hand them control, you give them confirmation. You tell them that silence works, that emotional withholding is rewarded. And guess what? They'll do it again and again. Until one day, you realize you've been feeding someone who's been starving you in return. So, no, you don't break first. You don't move from a place of fear. You don't speak just to soothe the discomfort pride caused. You hold your ground, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because reaching out isn't wrong, but doing it just to prove you matter. That's a setup for disappointment. You weren't made to chase. You were made to rise. And rising sometimes looks like staying still, like not sending that message, like letting the silence stretch until it either breaks them out of their pride or breaks the illusion entirely. And I know it's hard. I know the silence gets heavy. But remember, your peace is not a bargaining chip. You don't trade it for closure. You don't offer it in hopes of being seen. You protect it like it's sacred, because it is. If they want you, let them say it. Let them show it. Let them do the hard thing. Because if they can't reach out after all this time, What makes you think they'll show up when it really matters? So if you're done breaking first, if you've chosen self-worth over emotional crumbs, drop this in the comments right now. I hold the line. Let them wonder. Let them wrestle. Let pride keep them stuck. But you move with intention. You wait with purpose. And next, we're talking about your absence. That quiet, unwavering silence that's starting to echo louder than any message ever could. Stay with me. 6. Your absence is speaking louder than words. Sometimes the loudest thing you'll ever say is nothing at all. You haven't said a word, not a text, not a like, not a "how have you been?" But make no mistake, your silence is screaming, and whether they'll ever admit it or not, they hear it every single day. See, most people don't realize the power of absence until it shows up and refuses to leave. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It doesn't storm out with fireworks. It just disappears. Quietly, calmly, and then it lingers. Like the echo of a song that used to mean something. And that's exactly what's happening now. You're not messaging them. You're not reacting to their little breadcrumbs. You're not playing their game. And because of that, you've become the one thing their pride can't control: unpredictable. They expected you to fold, to cave, to chase, to react to the posts they crafted carefully, hoping you'd bite. But you didn't. You stayed still. You let silence do the talking. And now, it's doing more than talking. It's haunting. Because when you go quiet, not out of pettiness, but from power, they start to feel it. Not in the big, obvious moments, number. That's not how it works. It creeps in slowly, in the in-between spaces, in the middle of their laughter, in the moments they're alone, in the songs that suddenly hit different. They scroll through your profile, looking for a clue. They wonder if you're okay. They wonder if you still think about them. They wonder if someone else is filling the silence they created. And the scariest thought of all, that you're not wondering about them at all. That you're actually at peace. Because your silence doesn't say, "I'm angry." It says, "I've outgrown the noise." It says, "I don't need to explain myself anymore." It says, "I'm not waiting." And that, my friends, is a different kind of power. It's the kind they don't teach. It's the kind that can't be faked. It's the calm that only comes after the storm, the one where you finally chose you. But let's be real. Silence isn't always easy. It takes strength to sit still, to resist the urge to respond, to stop explaining your worth to people who've gone deaf to it. That's not weakness. That's growth. That's maturity. That's discipline. Because it's easy to send a quick message just to check in. It's easy to respond to that vague quote or late-night view. What's not easy? Choosing your peace over a moment of validation. Choosing long-term clarity over short-term comfort. But that's the path you're walking now. And here's what happens next. They start to panic. Not all at once, but slowly. They start to realize that your absence isn't just space. It's distance. Emotional, mental, spiritual distance. And the more you stay quiet, the more they start to feel it. That creeping thought that maybe they don't have the same pull they once did. That maybe their hold on you is slipping. And they're right, because the more they sit in silence, the more you rise in peace. The more they hesitate, the more you heal. And suddenly, the power they once felt, gone, replaced by doubt, replaced by what-ifs, replaced by the echo of their own silence reflected back at them. And you just keep going. Because when you don't chase, you don't lose. When you don't beg, you don't break. And when you don't react, you reset the whole dynamic. So let them sit in the quiet. Let them wrestle with it. Let your absence become the mirror they never wanted to look into. And if you're someone who's done making noise just to be heard, someone who's finally learned the art of powerful silence, type this in the comments right now. My silence is strength. Let them see it. Let the world see it. Let you feel it. Because next, we're stepping into the truth that changes everything. If they truly value you, they'll break their own silence. Not for attention, not for control, but for real, raw connection. Let's talk about it. Stay with me. 7. If they truly value you, they'll find the courage. When someone truly values you, they'll risk their pride to keep you. If they don't, they'll let pride risk everything. Let's get one thing clear. If they really care, they'll come forward. No more guessing. No more decoding vague posts. No more analyzing the silence. If there's real value in their heart for you, they won't sit back and let pride take the wheel forever. You see, pride may be loud, but love, when it's real, gets louder. And eventually, it breaks through. But let's talk about why they haven't reached out yet. Why they haven't said a word, even though they think of you all the time. Even though you live rent-free in their head. It's not because they're cold. It's not because they don't feel something. It's because fear is still driving the car and pride is riding shotgun, whispering, if they cared, they'd come to you. But here's what you must understand, my friend. The longer they listen to that voice, the more they lose. Not just you, but their own peace. Because pretending not to care when you do, that's emotional war. And they're losing it quietly. They scroll through old pictures, they replay old conversations, they go back to the places that remind them of you. But when it comes time to actually act, they freeze. Why? Because stepping toward you would mean admitting they were wrong, that they miss you, that they still care, that walking away or going silent wasn't strength. It was fear in disguise. And for someone ruled by pride, vulnerability feels like exposure, like standing out in the rain with no umbrella, fully seen, no shield, no backup plan. But if they truly value you, they'll do it anyway. Because real love doesn't sit in silence forever. It may take a detour, it may delay, but it doesn't stall forever. Eventually, the fear of losing you becomes louder than the fear of looking weak. And that's when you'll see it. Maybe it's a message that sounds casual. Hey, just thought of you. Maybe it's them owning up. I've been thinking. And I realize I never really said what I should have. Whatever form it takes, it won't be a breadcrumb. It'll be an effort. But here's the important part. You're not sitting around waiting for that moment. You're not checking your phone, hoping today's the day they grow up. You're not holding your breath while they battle with their ego. You're living, you're growing, you're building the version of yourself that doesn't need closure, validation, or apologies to move forward. And when you're in that space, you're powerful, because then, whether they come back or not, you've already won. You didn't cave, you didn't chase, you didn't let your emotions talk you into betraying your standards. You held the line. And if they do come back, they're coming back to someone who doesn't need them, but who has the strength to listen if the effort is real. That's the key. You don't want someone who circles back out of boredom or loneliness or convenience. You want someone who circles back because they realized your worth. Not because you reminded them, but because your absence did. So don't let your heart get fooled by silence dressed up in pride. Let their actions speak. Let time tell the truth. Because time has a funny way of exposing what people won't say. If they truly value you, they'll find the courage to say what their pride kept silent. And if they don't? Well, that's your answer too. That silence becomes closure, not because they gave it to you, but because you gave it to yourself. So if you're someone who refuses to settle for half love, for almost effort, for pride-drenched silence, type this in the comments right now. I choose real effort. Say it for you. Say it for the version of you that once begged for crumbs. And stay with me, because next we're stepping into the truth that most people avoid. What happens when you stop waiting completely and rise so far their silence can't even reach you anymore? Let's talk. 8. Build, rise, and let them watch from afar. Your glow-up isn't for revenge. It's the natural result of choosing peace over pride and purpose over people who couldn't match your depth. Here's what most people don't realize until it's too late. When you stop waiting, when you stop watching, when you stop hoping they'll come back with a change of heart, everything starts to change. And I don't mean you pretend to move on. I mean you really do. You shift your focus. You get serious about your healing. You wake up one morning and decide, I'm not going to make space in my head for someone who made none in their heart. That's the turning point. That's when you go from waiting to walking, from reacting to rebuilding, from wondering, will they reach out, to reminding yourself, even if they do, I've already outgrown what they walked away from. And what happens next? Oh, this is where it gets good, because they start to notice. You think they don't, but they do. You're not chasing them anymore. You're not posting for their attention. You're not engaging with their passive little breadcrumbs. You've gone silent, not to punish them, but to free yourself. And that silence, it's loud, louder than every message you ever didn't send. It haunts them. And here's the part they didn't expect. You're becoming better without them. While they're stuck watching your story from the shadows, you're out there building a new one with more peace, more purpose, more power, and less of them. They thought you'd wait, that you'd stay stuck, holding space for someone who couldn't even hold a conversation. But you didn't. You rose, quietly, consistently, with no announcement, no applause, and no need for revenge. You see, they wanted you stuck in limbo. They wanted you to crack, to reach out first, to validate their silence. But you gave them something else. You gave them the weight of their own indecision. You let time reveal the cost of pride. And you built, brick by brick, step by step. You turned pain into fuel, silence into strength, absence into evolution. Because the truth is, your healing isn't about them. It never was. It's about you waking up to your worth. Not the version of you they walked away from, but the version that emerged because they did. You became the storm they couldn't control, the peace they couldn't disrupt, the energy they no longer had access to. And the best part, you did it without a single word. You didn't need to clap back. You didn't need to make a scene. You just leveled up so quietly they had no choice but to feel it. And now, from their little corner of the digital world, they're watching, scrolling, wondering, regretting, but too proud to say it. Let them. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them wrestle with the space you filled with self-respect and direction. Because if they ever do come back, it won't be to the same version of you they left behind. It'll be to someone far beyond their reach. And that, my friend, is not revenge. That's transformation. So building, rise, and don't look back. Your path is forward. Your purpose is now. Your power is not in who you attract, but in who you become when you stop chasing and start choosing you. If this spoke to you, like this video, subscribe for more, and share this with someone who needs to hear it.